Welcome to the Personal Brand Era podcast. I'm your host, Ella Ray, and I'm very excited to talk to Katherine Minette today. She's a sales success business coach and trainer with more than 30 years of frontline corporate sales experience. Katherine is the founder of Minette Sales Academy, and she trains and coaches network marketers and direct sales business owners who are struggling to convert their leads to customers, to go from feeling frustrated, tired, and stuck to confidently making sales, achieving growth in the business, and impacting the world with their products without feeling salesy. Katherine, how are you today?
I am very well, thank you, Ella. It's good to be here.
Very, very great to have you here. I would love to ask you the very first question, which is, what do you love so much about sales and why?
I've been doing sales for a very long time now. It feels like a long time. Over 30 years in corporate sales. In fact, I've probably been doing sales longer if I think about it, because I started selling even as a child. Just selling apples and oranges door to door from a push doll's pram, and also selling raffle tickets and things for the school. And so I was quite comfortable knocking on doors and talking to people. And not that I had any sales skills at that point, but it did help build the confidence when I was younger. I love sales because it's all about people. It's all about helping people. Sales is service to me. It's being able to help people with whatever problems they've got. So depending on what products I'm selling, obviously I'm looking at helping people who have specific needs for my products and being able to solve their problem. And I think also educating. I think to sell is also you're educating, you're communicating, you're building relationships. So you really have to be a people person to enjoy sales. And I enjoyed the career of selling. I never moved away from selling because I enjoyed the day-to-day activities. I love getting out in the car and, having that freedom, really, the freedom to just get out in the day. You weren't stuck behind a computer or stuck in an office. I was out and about visiting different people at different times, and also every day was different. So I like the variety. So when I put all that together, that's pretty much what I like about selling. I did intend to get into marketing when I graduated, but I never did in the end. I stayed in sales because I realized to move into marketing would move into an office environment, and I really wasn't suited to that.
I really love what you say about selling. And for the longest time, I myself did not understand that selling indeed is service to people, helping them. I remember 4 years ago, I particularly put into my own mind, I will never be a saleswoman. I hate salespeople. Because my experience in Germany, particularly with salespeople, is more than negative. Their pursuit of selling you something in stores, for example, is very unprofessional in my opinion. So I always associated something very negative with selling. So it required a really big shift in my own mind to actually overcome that and see selling as service. I really love that. And can you walk my listeners through your experience, why you think people struggle so much with selling?
Well, I think it comes down to what you've just said, Ella. People have this negative idea about what selling is. And the reason they have this negative idea about what selling is because they've experienced really poor sales people, whether it's in shops or whether it's door knocking, or cold calling on someone on the telephone. So because they've had such a bad experience of people selling to them, and they're selling in a bad way, I say bad way, they're not really using good sales skills where they're actually asking questions, listening, and actually aiming to help. Their energy and their focus is all about trying to get you to buy their product. So it's all about them forcing their product, manipulating and using techniques and strategies to try and get you to buy their product. And it's all about them with this desperation of selling rather than a focus on you and what your needs are and whether you actually need the product. or being able to have a sales conversation effectively, so that you can find out whether the client, the prospect, has any needs. So I think because there's so many poor salespeople out there that don't know how to sell properly and the right way, it's given the salespeople a bad reputation. And so who wants to be a salesperson? You don't want to be pushy and salesy and sleazy and all those horrible connotations. But if we can change that around, and that's what I want to do, I want to be able to educate people, business owners particularly, to know what selling really is and shift that paradigm so that they can embrace sales, because they need to for their business. I mean, let's face it, sales is the lifeblood of the business. And if they don't make sales, then they won't have a business for long. And so we need to shift that paradigm so that they can really embrace being a salesperson for their business and for their products. But we need to do it in a way where they learn how to do it effectively and in a way that's non-salesy. And then they'll enjoy it like I do. So, yeah.
And you've mentioned, yes, you've mentioned just the key word that I wanted to get into a bit deeper, salesy. I hear that word a lot thrown around all across the coaching industry, but also everywhere else. And maybe we should dissect the word, or maybe go back to the definition of what that actually means. What does it mean, and how is someone who is salesy? What is this person doing that is so horrible that he gets that stamp, you're salesy?
Yeah, salesy. I use it myself often. I say, I help people and to be able to sell without feeling salesy. And it's a good question, is what does salesy mean? I assume that most people know what it means, but maybe they don't. So let's talk about that. So being salesy, from my point of view, is that traditional old style of selling where they're forcing the product onto the other person. They're using manipulative, old style sales techniques. As I said before, the whole focus of the conversation is just trying to get that person to buy the product, rather than asking questions and listening and using good sales skills where you can sell in a non-salesy or a sort of non-pushy. You're not coming across as a say used car salesman. I don't want to offend any used car salesman, but it's the term that's thrown around because, again, there's been that experience of in the olden days of people trying to sell used cars, and they tended to use certain tactics and strategies and manipulative ways to get people to buy a car. They'd lie and say the car was, it's only so many kilometers of mileage when they've turned the clock back, and they just want to get rid of the car onto some sucker that doesn't do their research. So I think that whole salesy, that's what it means. It's not a positive word. And so people who have had bad experience of someone selling to them, they don't want to be like that. And so that's where they say, well, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to come across as pushing my product onto someone. So I hope that sort of explains it. That's my sort of definition. How would you describe it?
Yeah, so I would agree that it is the type of aggression, increased aggression. It is the volume, in my mind, always, that someone is overly loud because he needs to scream it out, maybe because we all are kind of in need of earning money, but some are doing it in a way that is not even authentic to them. There are types who are doing a quite aggressive selling style, quite voluminous with their vocal tone, and still it works for them, right? I think it has to be aligned with someone. And if someone chooses a technique, a selling technique that is not aligned to them, they will feel salesy. They will feel too aggressive, too pushy, overly confident, or maybe even arrogant, right? Or maybe, lying, manipulating, deceiving. And what I see for coaches, specifically for female coaches, is that they tend to be so afraid of selling that they don't do it at all. They don't know how to do it because they're so scared to be labeled as salesy. So they run away from it like it is the pest. So all their misconceptions that they have about selling are kind of blocking them completely off. And how are you helping your clients if you discover that in your clients, those mental blocks? How do you relieve a person of that?
Well, I think first of all, it's being able to help them understand what selling really is. Like really, that shift from it's not manipulating and deceiving and being pushy. It's about asking questions. It's about listening. It's about helping. It's about being of service. You're solving problems. You're needed. I mean, people want to buy products. We all like buying products, but we don't like being sold to. So it's that shift of how can you help someone buy your product? And in fact, if you're not out there marketing and selling your product, they're just going to go somewhere else. And they might have a real need and a big problem. And you're not, if you don't go out and sell your product to them, then they're going to continue to suffer. They're going to continue to not have their problem solved. So, and sometimes people don't realize they even have a problem. Sometimes it's a case of letting them know that, well, this is the problem, and they increase their awareness of it so that you can then, once they're aware that they have a problem, then you can show them the solution in your product or service that can actually help them. And when it's done the right way, in a non-salesy way, then customers thank you. They're grateful that you sold them the product. They tell their friends. This is where referrals come from. People don't refer when they have not enjoyed the sales process. So there's many times that we've bought products and been sold to, and it's been a pleasurable experience. And the difference is that the person who was selling to them was doing it in a non-salesy way. So they were probably asking the questions, identifying what the needs were. They were listening, and they were helping their customer make that decision, so that the customer knows that this is the right decision, so there's no buyer's remorse afterwards. And of course, there's a whole process involved in doing this. And you're right, the problem with a lot of coaches and small business owners is they're so afraid that they don't want to come across as being salesy, that they don't understand what selling is, but they don't want to learn. They don't want to go and do the training. I mean, they don't even pick up books or read anything about what selling is to get some basic skills. They just do this whole, oh, I don't want to sell. I'll just hide behind marketing and just put some stuff online. But they don't want to go and talk to people. And unfortunately, for coaches or any service-based, many service-based industries, and face-to-face selling industries like network marketers or real estate agent, brokers, like business brokers, finance brokers, service people that come into someone's home. You know, they made the door knockers selling home products. They need to be able to communicate with people. They need to know what those conversational skills are. And that's what selling is. You're just having a conversation. You're just communicating. And if you communicate effectively, then it doesn't come across as being salesy.
I have a feeling that, and that was also my impression when I started my business, that I had to become a fake persona or a different persona from who I am naturally, right? So in order to be a successful coach or consultant, I would have to become someone. But at some point, I realized that I didn't have to become anyone. I already possessed the skills of being a friend. That helped me tremendously to not having that pressure on me to actually becoming someone. Yes, I needed certain skills, as you said, communication, conversational skills. I needed to train myself to have them. But what I discovered was very beautiful, that I already possessed the number one skill that I needed as a consultant, namely being a friend to someone. And the difference is that the primary goal is not to sell someone, but the primary goal is to help someone, just like you would help your sister, you would help your mom, right? You're having a conversation, you talk to someone based on your skills, right, that you are providing, obviously. But to have some type of a exchange, you exchange the money, right? It's not like you are friends and it's all for free. It's your job. You need to exchange, right? And for that type of exchange, you also need to kind of heal your money mindset trauma, if you will, because I see that a lot, myself included, when I started. So many mindset trauma beliefs around money itself. I think it is very closely related to sales. People have a problem with money. They didn't learn the right beliefs about money, how money works, how to acquire it, what it is actually, how it works. And so it is so closely interconnected that they will continue being scared when it comes to sales.
Yeah.
And as you said, having the communication skills is also crucially important to develop that type of confidence. I believe it starts with the communication skills, maybe not necessarily the sales skills.
I
What do
actually
you
think
think?
it starts with the confidence that you were talking about just then. In fact, when I work with clients, I start with the confidence, the mindset, those beliefs, those limiting beliefs, and the fears. So it's all the mindset stuff, because you're absolutely right. Those beliefs about money and their worthiness, which are tied up to that charging of money, those beliefs need to be looked at and shifted. And that mindset has, and the mindset of what is selling, and having that, building up that confidence, that has to be dealt with first. Because if you don't have those beliefs shifted and you don't have that confidence, then you're not going to implement the sales strategies and sales techniques that you would learn. And the problem with many training courses for sales is, and I know my history of in the industries, medical and pharmaceutical industry that I've worked in, the training was all on the product and it was all on sales skills, but there was no training on the mindset. So you were just expected to have that confidence, and if there was any limiting beliefs inside that would make you afraid to pick up the phone and make a call or go and talk to someone, that was not taught, that was not dealt with. And so that's why I think a lot of people who get into sales in companies, they start a sales career, they fall over, they drop out, and they don't like it. And it's because no one is helping them develop their confidence, and they're not dealing with those limiting beliefs that they have around money and worthiness and being judged, and what people are going to think of me, and but am I going to look stupid, and oh, am I going to be pushy? I mean, all those stories that are going on in the head. And so once you deal with that, then you can then learn the sales skills and techniques, and then you're more likely to implement them. And I think that is, and I say strategy is the first thing. That after that, having the strategic training, so you know how to go about planning and preparing and prospecting so that you can find your clients, and then moving into learning about the sales conversation, because once you've found your client, you're in front of them, you need to know how to speak with them, so that you know what to say and how to say it effectively, so that you're going to be able to, move your prospect along that sales process and into a sale in a non-salesy way.
Okay, so you were just talking about the communication skills, the confidence, and that people actually have to first learn the mindset shift, then kind of the strategy of sales, but most importantly, then having also the skills in the direct sales call, right?
Yes.
Which is a muscle. Like you have to train that over and over and over again, and also handling the objections. I think especially my clients, I think, are struggling the most with that particular point. What if they say no? What if they say, I don't have time, I don't have money, all the objections that we know in the world, right? Is there a trick, is there a tool that you use to help your clients overcome that step and actually serve in a way that they can overcome the client's objections and actually make a sale?
Well, I think first of all, it goes back to that mindset again and understanding what an objection is. So an objection really is a gift. When someone's asking, an objection is just someone asking a question really about your product. Maybe it's about the price. Maybe it's about the timing. They might say, "Oh, I don't know if I'm not sure if I can afford it," or the timing might be an issue for them. So it's about helping people understand that if someone's asking a question or objecting, they're actually interested. That's why I say it's a gift. It's an opportunity then for you to be able to handle that objection effectively and help them to make that decision to purchase from you. Now, just a caveat here, sometimes someone might have an objection and it's what I call a concrete objection. Now, a concrete objection it's a definite objection. It's like you're not going to be able to get past it. So if there was something happening in June and that's when it was happening, an event or something that someone was running, then and I was, let's say September, I'm going traveling in September, right? I'm going on holiday. So if someone was talking to me about a particular event, workshop or something, and it was happening in September, and they said, it's a concrete objection for me because I cannot attend in September because I have other plans. So that would be a concrete objection. It's just not possible. But you should never just because someone says, it's too expensive, I haven't got the time. It's an opportunity then to question on that, question around the objection. Don't just take it at face value. It's an opportunity to explore further, ask them questions. And those questions need to be planned and prepared. So most people will know what their typical objections are. And the typical ones are money, time, I have to talk to someone else. So if you know in advance what your typical objections are, then you can prepare in advance how to handle them. So if you prepare your objections, when they come up, one, with the mental thought process of, this is great, there's an objection, this is a gift, this is not a no, now I just have to ask the questions which you've pre-prepared and have your answers of how you're going to handle those objections. I think if you just ignore, this is what a lot of people without the training, they fear objections, which means, say, if you look at something, it goes away. Like the fear, if you face your fear, it goes away. Well, if you face the fact that you're going to have objections and prepare for them, then when they come up, you're not going to be afraid of them. It's when people haven't prepared for them and they come up that they just say, okay, well, yeah, okay, well, and that's it, end of call. They think it's the end, but it's not always the end. As I say, it could be a concrete objection, but until you ask questions and you dig deep, but also look at if you can help solve that problem, that they're thinking they've got a problem of money or they've got a problem of timing, but maybe you can, coach them through it and give them other alternatives. But what I always suggest is that the planning is done first, before the call, so that you are not on the back foot trying to handle objections.
Yes, and I like what you said last, that you can prepare in a way that you might be able to even incorporate the major objections that you oftentimes meet into your products, so that this objection can be handled in a very smart way. For example, if someone says, my budget is not that high to invest in such a course, you could say, hey, there are payment plans available, right?
Exactly.
So you instantly are handling the objection by providing more value to them with lowering the risk and all that stuff, right? Or if they say, I don't have that much time for that course, you can say, hey, the course videos are bite-sized. They're only 5 minutes a day. So even a busy mom can handle that with 3 kids running around, right? So you can develop ideas on, and again, it is a service. It is not something to be scared of. You can, again, it is just like a conversation with a friend. If a friend has a problem, you would not say, oh, it's a horrible friend, I don't want to have to do anything with you anymore because you had an objection, right? No, you would not do that, right? You would be compassionate, you would be empathetic to her, right? You would ask questions again. You would ask her, how can I help you with that? How can I help you have more time? Even in that department, especially if you are a life coach, a time management coach, partly or completely, right? You could start incorporating the objections into your coaching, so to speak, so that you can meet them with grace and without sweating, when they come.
Well, the other thing is as well, Ella, is you can prepare those objections and bring them up yourself. So you might say, look, I know that you might be thinking that you might not have the time for this. Mm-hmm. And they're going, oh, I was thinking that. And you go, well, I've had other clients that have come to me and they've had that thought. And what they found, they found that by doing this, that, and the other, they were able to find the time. So preparing the objections is critical. And there's the common ones, the money, the time, I need to ask my partner, I call it the authority. There's the competition. They talk about the competition, there's somebody else is offering something, or they just like, oh, I'm not interested. So, they're the common ones. And if you can sit down and spend some time preparing an answer and also looking at how can you bring those objections into your conversation so that you're bringing it up in advance, knowing it's going to come up anyway, and handling it. So then they don't bring it up. So I think preparation it should not be underestimated. And I think to be successful in sales, there's a lot of preparation that has to be done before you even get in front of someone. The work for the successful sales call is done prior to the call. And then during the call, you're executing all your preparation, preparing your questions, preparing your evidence to support what your claims you're making, preparing your transitions. How are you going to move from your sales conversation, the uncovering the needs, and that's part of the conversation, to actually talking about your product. So having a transition, and also how are you going to ask for the business, and having everything ready, like your preparation with brochures or payment ways for them to pay, or agreements or contracts that they might need. Having all that prepared will always help make a smoother transition throughout the whole sales conversation. But I think a lot of people, they go into a sales call without preparing and they try and wing it. And when they're already got on the back foot of being afraid and they haven't got the training and they're trying to wing it, then they come across as salesy, pushy, and they don't get the outcome that they want. So preparation.
Or they end up wasting their own time and also the time of the client, potentially, if they see it as just a conversation, right? That is not really directed and led. And you mentioned something, there are different parts to a sales call, so to speak. Could you walk my listeners through, I think there are 3 parts of a sales call that people should really know about, so that they can move from one part to the next one to be finally at the close, right? Which many people miss out to do at all.
Yes. Some of the key things that are involved in the sales conversation process. So rapport building is critical, and you start with rapport as soon as you walk in, and also rapport continues all the way through, because if you break rapport during the sales call, then you're gonna if you've broken rapport, then the chances of getting a sale are going to be reduced. So rapport is critical. The skills of questioning and listening obviously are critical, and understanding who you're talking to, the purchaser, the buyer. Everyone's got different styles. We have different styles ourselves, and so do our prospects. So we have to understand who it is that we're talking to and be able to communicate effectively using their language, and also using their body language and personality style. So we need to be chameleons a little bit to be able to match their behavior style so that we can connect and build that rapport. So there's some of the skills that we need. And so you take that into the sales conversation, and of course you have to start it. You have to have an idea of how are you going to open up that sales conversation. What are you going to start with? I mean, having a set statement or a question or to get the ball rolling, the conversation rolling. And I always say it's a bit like doing a presentation. If you were getting up on stage to deliver a presentation, you need to know exactly how you're going to open that presentation. And preparing that opening statement and practicing it over and over before you get on stage is really important, because then you're going to deliver during that first period of the presentation when the nerves are high. That's when the nerves are high at the very beginning. But if you've prepared exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to say it to open up the sales conversation, it eliminates those nerves. And then once you get into a conversation, it is just like talking with a friend, and you're just having a conversation. So preparation is a good strategy for overcoming those initial fears. So you open up the sales conversation and we start asking questions. Now, I have my SPA sales process, which I teach, and it stands for the story. So we start to uncover what their story is. So what's the story of what's happening? What has happened? Where are they at now? And then we start working into their problems. So the P is for problem, and we start asking questions to uncover the challenges, the problems, the issues, all those things that are going on within their business or with their life, if you're a life coach, or with their relationship. So we start asking questions to uncover the pain, and then we move into, once we know what that pain is, we want to see how that pain is affecting, this is the A, affecting the rest of their business. So they have an issue here, a pain, and it's now affecting, maybe it's affecting their cash flow, maybe it's affecting their production capabilities, maybe it's affecting their health, maybe it's affecting their relationships. So finding out what are the effects of their pains in their life and in their business. And then we move into the R, the resolution of the SPA, resolution. And the resolution is where we transition into talking about our product. But we never do that before we've actually done the SPA. We've uncovered their story, their pains, and how the pains are affecting their business. And we're finding out what their needs are. And so we're finding out, we're qualifying them. Hopefully they're qualified as in we know that they are an ideal customer before we have an appointment with them. But during that initial SPA part of the process, we are also still qualifying, are they a right customer? Is there a need? And I do have a solution can I solve their problem? Do I have something? Because you may have a conversation and realize, well, what they're after, I actually can't help them with. And you're not going to sell them into a product which they don't need, and it's not going to help solve them, because that would be being salesy. And so in that R, in that final resolution stage, you're presenting the solution, your solution to their problem, and you're also then moving into asking for the business. So there's various stages of this whole sales conversation, and in each stage there's certain skills that you need to know and understand and practice to be able to implement effectively in order to have that smooth transition. So having in the conversation, you know where you are in the conversation, so you're able to keep it on track. And if you've got if you've done your preparation, you've prepared for any sales objections, you've prepared questions that you're going to ask, it makes it a lot easier to be able to have a productive sales conversation and do it confidently.
And it turns out that, I feel that as I listen to you, it almost feels like part of customer service, because if you don't train yourself on these different parts that are so crucial to actually move that client along, you are not having excellent customer service. You are not helping them, because your ability to move them through those stages is actually saving them time and money, right? So it is an enormous service that you're doing to them if you train yourself in those areas.
Yes.
And once someone has successfully made a couple of sales, now another problem or obstacle, so to speak, arises. Once you made sales, once you have that type of consistency, do you also train people on analyzing their sales data to actually improve their performance? Is that also part of your coaching?
Yes, I mean, it can be as individual. People can bring that to coaching calls and we can talk about it. So I do talk about the importance of monitoring your sales performance. I mean, having a sales goal is important because without a goal where you're going, you've got to have something to be aiming for. And so, and if to see how effective you're being in sales, well, the best measure of that is sales results. So having a goal of maybe a dollar value or how many clients you want to have within a specific time frame. So a clear, smart goal. You've probably heard, Ella, of the SMART goals being specific and measurable and specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So you have the SMART goal, and the more specific the better. So we want to have like a specific number, a specific dollar value, a specific number of clients that you might be looking to get, and having that goal then broken down from a 12-month goal into quarterly goals and even maybe monthly goals. And when you've got a clear goal with a clear strategy underneath it, and then the tactics of what you need to do to achieve those strategies. So if you do the daily work, the daily activities are the tactics. Achieving your strategy, and your strategies are all going to help you achieve your goal. So you've got your plan of what you need to do, but you need to have those KPIs, those key performance indicators of the activities that you're doing. So if you know you need to do so phone calls a day, or maybe how many appointments you need to be doing, your sales conversations. So there's the prospecting calls and there's the sales meeting, sales conversation. If you have an idea of the number that you need in order to achieve your dollar goal, then you break that down, and that's what you're measuring yourself on. And if you're not achieving it, if you're not achieving your KPIs, then the chances are you're not going to achieve your sales goals. So it's very important to have very clear KPIs. What activities do you need to do in order to achieve your strategy, in order to achieve your goal, and measure those? Otherwise, you're doing work and you're not getting the feedback as to whether your efforts are being successful or not. So yeah, they're very important criteria to look at. And also looking at where are you spending your time, and is it effective? Are you getting a return on your time, a return on your investment? Just like we talk about return on investment of dollars, but what about return on your investment of time? So looking at that, and are you spending time on income producing activities? So assessing your day, what you're doing each day, and how effective are you being? And so if you're looking to improve your sales results, have a look at your diary, have a look at your calendar, and have a look at the activities that you're spending time on. Are they income producing activities? And have KPIs around specific income producing activities, which would be things like prospecting, cold call. How many cold calls? How many meetings have you booked? How many networking events you might attend? So those sort of things. And that's just talking from a sales point of view, but from a lot of people doing their own marketing, they may have KPIs around doing so many podcasts a quarter or a month, or how many posts, how much content they're putting out on social media. So having KPIs, setting yourself with your strategy, having your actions and KPIs around them, and then monitoring them. It's the only way to know whether you're moving forward or not. And also it means you can work out, what do you stop doing, or what do you do more of, based on the feedback of the results that you're getting.
And marketing is basically feeding your sales process or your sales success.
Yeah.
I don't think you could, if we tailor that to specifically female coaches, I don't think you can have your business plan, whatever, and your sales process. Like there needs to be something in between where you actually are marketing your stuff, right? Your
Yeah.
coaching programs and all that stuff. So depending on how well you do your marketing, the more clients, of course, or leads you will get into your business. And then you need to be prepared once those leads are coming in. And if your sales process is broken or unfinished and you are untrained, you will have a lot of leads maybe coming in because maybe you are amazing on social media. Maybe you have mastered going live on Instagram every day and you are a good talker, right? Your voice performs really well. But if you are not able to actually close that thing, right? To actually make them a customer, help them. This is like the definitive line that people are not very eager to have in their businesses, and which is why it's so important to have that conversation with you, that people realize how important sales actually is.
Yeah.
And you need to be able
Absolutely.
to. Mhm.
I was going to say, yeah, sales, marketing and sales. So first you have to do your marketing. So you do all your planning first, then your marketing. Your marketing has to come first because marketing is all about attracting the clients to you, attracting your ideal customer and bringing them into your ecosystem where they're getting to know you. But eventually you can have all these leads coming in, just like you said. But if you are not able to have a conversation with them and convert them into a customer, all that money and time and energy and effort that you've spent doing your marketing really well is going to be wasted. Now, for some people, they're selling products online and they don't need to have a sales conversation. You know, it's like they do marketing, send them into a website to a shopping cart and they go click. And for low cost items, products, then that's typical. You don't need to have a sales conversation for selling water bottles or accessories for things. However, if you're a coach, if you're selling high ticket, just like a house or a car, or you're buying insurance, then you don't necessarily buy that by the click of a button online. I mean, some people do. I mean, there'll be someone that says, I bought a house online. I mean, there's always the obscure person that will tell you if they've done that. But generally, those sort of sales, those high ticket sales, require a conversation. They need to be helped over the line. They need to be helped with their decision-making process because they'll have more questions. There's a higher risk in their mind of spending the money and committing to signing up for a coach or buying a house or a car. And so that's why a conversation is needed. And that's what I focus on. I focus because that's what I did for 30 years. I did the sales. I was not a marketing person. I did education in marketing. I did my business degree and I had marketing in that, and I did a Chartered Institute of Marketing diploma. So I had an understanding of marketing, and I've implemented marketing plans for marketing departments. But up until now, where I'm my own business, now I'm learning and implementing marketing, but I'm not training people on marketing per se. Having said that, we do have conversations about marketing ideas, and I share what I'm doing and what I'm learning from my own coach and my own training. I'm in the process of learning marketing, but my experience is in that sales, because 30 years of face-to-face selling, that has become natural for me, and that's where I can help people who need to convert their warm leads that have come through from marketing and convert them into a sale using the sales process, which is what, like you say, a lot of people avoid and they don't know how to do it. So
my impression from hanging around a lot on social media is that whenever I see some posts about, hey, what you're struggling the most with right now in your business, right? Like 90% of people say getting clients. So I feel the breaking point for them is really not having their sales process nailed down. Like, you don't even need to be branded a lot. If you know what you're selling, if you're good at what you're selling, it's good enough to start. But if you're not able to actually convert those people who have a conversation with you or have a question around your coaching, this is where it becomes a problem, especially if, and you mentioned that, if you're selling a high ticket product. From what I have observed in the market, it seems that products up until a price of 997 can be sold over a sales page, which is mostly marketing related. So if any of you, my listeners, have a sales page and you are selling your course, your membership, your masterclass, your workshop, your challenge, what have you, on a sales page, you might not need humongous sales skills. Like, you can put that off into the future, right? If the sales page is already doing the job for you, which is a sales process as well. You need to know the basics of how to sell on a sales page. But you can get away with products up until 997. But if your coaching costs 2K, 5K, 10K, as you said, you need to think about getting more into sales process and skills, and come together with a coach who can really show you step by step how to go through these sales conversations without feeling embarrassed, without feeling salesy, without being pushy, without, on the other hand, being boring, right? Not knowing what to say. And I also see that happens so much to people that they simply have no words to say, especially if the objections are flooding in that conversation. They are just, oh my God, you know?
There's no excuse for that, because you know what the top objections are. You've heard them, and they're typical of everybody selling products. They're the same: the money, the time, the you've got to deferring to someone else, the I'm not interested, the competition. They're the common ones. So why not prepare an answer for them? Why not prepare an advice? Why not prepare what you're going to say so you can handle them? But you're leaving money on the table if you don't learn the skills to convert people. And even those, then you say up to $900. I mean, how many people? There's a lot of people even at 900. To them that's a lot of money, and they wouldn't want to make that decision without a conversation. So don't just rely on your sales page to do all the heavy work. It can get them so far, but it's your job then to take them the rest of the way. That's your job as providing a service and helping them make that decision. And they'll thank you for it, because you've got a great product, you've got a great service, your coaching is excellent, you're going to change lives and impact people. And so, you're doing yourself and them a disservice if you don't get on the phone and have a conversation with them, or meet them for coffee, whichever it is. So yeah, you need the skills. They need you to need the skills. So it's that shift. It's like that shift is just that first step. And once they've got that realization that, yeah, I do need this. This isn't me being salesy. This is me helping people. And how many people are going to suffer because I'm not able to talk to them and have a conversation and help them sign up onto my coaching program. So then go and get the skills, and then you know what to do and how to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. And do you think that it is also related to many people having a problem of undercharging, especially in the beginning when they're coaching? They think, oh, who am I to charge 10K, right? I'm just starting out. How could I? I see that a lot. A lot of people are undercharging for what they should really charge. Where is this coming from, and how can people get around that to finally start charging what they're actually worth?
That comes back to what we talked about earlier, which is that mindset, that it's that limiting belief about their value. So they need that's what they need work on. Their I'm not good enough. Their understanding about what money is. That money is just a transaction. It's an energy. In fact, when people sign up and pay, that's when a significant change happens in them. When they commit by giving money, The transformation is starting at that point before they even log into your program. It's already started. They need to make that transition, because if people don't pay for the coaching, they don't value it and they won't do the work. And if you're low price, they'll just, it'll be more like, oh, it doesn't matter, they'll let it go. But if you're a higher price and you're adding value, I mean, obviously you've got to have a high value in your coaching and in your product and what you're offering. But if people have paid a lot of money, it's got to be a bit of hurt money. They call it hurt money, skin in the game. Otherwise they won't do the work. They don't turn up and they don't do the work, which means they don't get the transformation. And so that's why it's important to charge what you're worth, and don't undervalue yourself. But if you've got some limiting beliefs and blocks about that, then you need to get them cleared. You need to work on them. So a bit of personal development needed there before you start getting out. I mean, in order to be able to go out and be a good salesperson and be able to help people buy your product, and then you're able to help solve their problem. And then you're being of service. And then you feel good because you know that you're helping people and making an impact and doing what you love. And then maybe you don't have to give it all up and go and get a job, go back to the corporate world, whatever you were doing before. And that's, you got into business because you want to help people. And so do yourself a favor as well as your future clients, and get the skills, the marketing skills and the sales skills, and deal with your limiting beliefs. This is a journey. It's not a case of having a business isn't just about making money, and it's a whole process. You change when you become a business owner, and you learn, and you're on this journey. And I think another important thing that people have a problem with is they compare themselves to other people and where they're at in their business. And so they beat themselves up thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not far ahead, I haven't got as many clients, I need, they think that other people are better than them, why would they choose me? So there's all that goes on in their heads as well. Just stay in your lane and know your value. If you've got a good product and you know your own value, then put your value on it, because if you're trying to sell a product for pennies, you'll get people, you might get people, but you're going to get a lot of people who don't do the work, that don't turn up, and they're going to cause you a lot of problems. They're the ones that will complain the most. And you're going to have lots of them. In order to, make a $5,000, instead of selling a program for $5,000, if you're selling it for, $9.99, you've got 5 people instead of 1. That's 5 more potential problems. So I think the lower the price, the more problems you're going to get, because you've got more people. So yeah, charge what you're worth. But as long you do have to have a quality product with a good offering as well. So that all needs to be worked out in advance.
I think
is that something that you do? You work with people on that branding or offering and.
Yes, there's a lot of mindset, heart set, beliefs. That's kind of my job, to actually make them see what is unique about them. Because for branding, one major part is to stand out, right, in the market. So you have to have something that is unique about yourself. And the beauty of it is that every human is unique. Right? Everyone has something beautiful, amazing, any type of gift, right? And I actually noticed that in myself very early on, that I was able to recognize the gifts of people very quickly, which I honed into a business very late in my life, right? Even though I had the skill very early on. And it comes very handy when you meet a person and you immediately see that's their gift. And so you start creating a business around that gift, right? And you tell them and you show them how they can show up to actually attract those dream clients into their businesses, right? And on the side, of course, having the nice and aligned visuals that they need as a brand, right, to be recognizable. Again, customer service. Many people confuse branding with just having a logo, right, a useless logo. But in reality, everything that you do in your business, whether it is branding, marketing, or sales, is customer service, is part of it. And so many people, I think it's more than 70% of people, based on studies, would leave a company or would choose a different company because there's poor customer service. And many people misunderstand what customer service even means, right? It's not just how do I talk nicely to my clients? No, it starts with branding, marketing, and it ends with sales. And even after they become a customer, you still need to serve, you still need to show up and have your amazing energy, right? And still serve, even if they said no to you, right? You still are serving, even if they never buy from you, you still are serving, not to get them as a client, but just to show up as a personal brand. That's what I understand about it.
And no does not mean never. Someone might say no because the timing's not right. I'm away in September, but hey, I'm available in December. So no doesn't mean never, it means not now. And everyone's on a different scale of being ready. And only a few people, a small percentage of people are actually ready to buy when you're talking to them. But like you say, if you keep that conversation, keep that building that relationship, you still add service, you're still helping them out, when they are ready, you're going to be the first person that they're going to call. And the other thing is, once they do become a customer, yes, you have to keep them as a customer, so you've got to provide that service. And also, they could potentially buy more products off you. And also, they're likely to, if they get good service from you, they're going to refer their friends, family members, and someone else. So, yeah, you never stop serving them before, during, and after a sales conversation. Yeah, and the more people you can be serving and building a nice community of people where you're serving, which is why Facebook groups are really good. You just never know who's going to be your next client. They can, you hear people saying, oh, I've got a client and they've been following me for months, and then all of a sudden, out the blue, I got a message. So yeah, never stop serving. That's what it's all about.
Oh, I thought you would say never stop selling.
Oh, never stop selling. But if you're serving, then you'll end up selling.
Yeah, totally true.
Serving, oh, you've got to know the sales skills, but if you're serving, and even in the sales conversation, you're serving, you're asking them questions, you're listening, you're trying to see what's your problem, can I help you? And then, oh yeah, I can, I think I have a solution, would you be interested in hearing what I think I could do to help you? And they say yes, and you go, great, get that permission, and then you can lead into what your offer is. You do it in a non-salesy way. Selling is not hard when you know how. The problem is people.
Okay, so you just said that in September you're going to be traveling. What are the major goals that you have for your business, and where can people find you if they're interested in working with you?
Right, yes, traveling is a big thing for me now, and I am traveling in September. We're going over to Europe. I live in Australia. So I'm from Australia, Brisbane, Australia, and I'm going over to Spain and Portugal, and we're doing a Mediterranean cruise. So a nice big holiday and catching up with some family. And it's also going to be an opportunity for me to do similar what to you're doing, Ella, but traveling and being able to run a business at the same time. And that's my real big goal, is to be able to continue to help people and grow my own coaching clients and my community, and still be able to do that while I'm satisfying my need for freedom and traveling the world. And because my business is very much online, I do my marketing online, I do face-to-face networking as well, and also my coaching program is online and the training is all online. Having said that, of course I can, when I'm not traveling, I can still go in and do face-to-face training for small sales teams and business owners if needed. Something I can talk to people about. But I think generally my goal is to have a very flexible business where I can be anywhere in the world, as long as there's an internet and my laptop's working, then and I can continue to grow my community. And that's, I think, important for me, is having a community of like-minded business owners that are supporting each other, because I'm not the guru that has all the answers. I think when you get a community, other people can support other people, and so you get that nice different ways of different people have different ways of solving problems, and they can come up with answers as well, because I'm not always available. If it's different time zones, someone's got a problem, they can stick it in the Facebook group, and then somebody else can pop in and answer it if I'm not available. So I love that community. That's what I want to build more of a community as well. Yeah.
I love that. And so people will be able to find you on Facebook. Are you mainly there?
Yes, I'm Minette Sales Academy. So that's Minette, M-I-N-E-T-T, Minette Sales Academy on Facebook, on Instagram. And I also, if anyone's interested to learn more about selling, I am running a free live on Zoom sales masterclass. And that will be on Thursday, the 25th. It is the 25th of May is the next one. So if you want to go to minettesalesacademy.com/sales masterclass, you can go in there and register, put it in the calendar, and come to my live sales masterclass. It's on Zoom. It's about 45 to 60 minutes. There is an opportunity to ask questions, and I'd love to see anyone there. You come and meet me and talk to me and say hello and tell me that you met me on Ella's podcast.
And I will leave all the links to Katherine's business, Facebook, and the masterclass in the description down below, so people can actually register and learn from you. Thank you so much, Katherine.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No
It has been amazing talking to you and having a real deep dive on sales. I really enjoyed that. Never thought I would be enjoying talking about selling so much, but I really do. Ever since that mindset shift has taken place, and I can only recommend that to everyone, to every female coach, to go through that process with a professional who knows how to get you from stuck to actually thriving with your sales, right? This is what you're struggling with the most from what I'm hearing. I highly recommend doing the masterclass with Katherine. I'm sure you will learn a ton, and thank you so much, Katherine. I enjoyed that.
No worries. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, Al. Thanks for having me. And thank you, everybody.